Je vous souhaite chaleureusement la bienvenue à la présente conférence régionale sur la population et le développement. Votre présence souligne la grande importance que vous attachez à la question. La présente conférence fait partie du processus de consolidation des positions des différentes régions à la lumière d'un examen majeur de la première conférence internationale sur la dite question qui a eu lieu au Caire, en terre africaine, en 1994. Accueillir une manifestation d'une telle importance était en quelque sorte un signe précurseur pour l'Afrique. Pourtant, à l'époque, rares étaient ceux qui auraient pu imaginer l'évolution qui surviendrait au cours des 20 dernières années dans le continent et même dans le monde. Tous les délégués et partenaires qui ont œuvré avec une si grande diligence pour nous permettre d'arriver là où nous sommes méritent notre reconnaissance. L'examen de la mise en œuvre du plan d'action consacré à l'Afrique a été un exercice très rigoureux. Les représentants de la société civile et les jeunes nous ont accompagnés tout le long de ce parcours et sont ici parmi nous pour participer à cette poussée finale. J'adresse à tous ma profonde gratitude pour le concours qu'ils ont prêté dans l'élaboration d'une position africaine authentique à l'horizon 2014 et au-delà. Mesdames et messieurs, lorsqu'en 2011, les jeunes réunis à la place Hamadi Al-Tahrir manifestaient pour revendiquer le rôle qui est le leur dans la société, où les femmes qui étaient présentes en très grand nombre dénonçaient les abus sexuels dont elles étaient victimes, le monde a marqué un arrêt pour suivre ce déferlement d'énergie démocratique. Ce n'était pas la première fois que cette place servait de point de ralliement social et ça ne sera probablement pas la dernière. La place Tahrir ne se trouve pas très loin du lieu où s'est tenue la conférence internationale sur la population et le développement en 1994. Peu de personnes à cette époque auraient pu imaginer une Afrique avec une histoire différente, avec différents acteurs en présence, depuis les temps où les continents n'avaient que des discussions sur un programme de développement étroit. Aujourd'hui, on entend surtout de bonnes nouvelles concernant le continent. Le nouvel afro-optimisme ou afro-enthousiasme est cependant dominé par la perception extérieure des débouchés, en particulier en vue des faibles perspectives et projections de croissance dans beaucoup d'économies développées. Il est vrai qu'il n'y a jamais assez de bonnes nouvelles. L'Afrique ayant été échappée pendant longtemps et parfois avec condescendance. On ne s'y est jamais fait, mais on a un peu considéré que cette attitude faisait partie du paysage. Il est bon de savoir que les choses changent. Mais il ne faudrait pas se leurrer. Comme dans beaucoup d'autres situations, le diable est bien dans les détails. Ladies and gentlemen, first, I think it is important for our conference to understand what is propelling Africa's growth. It is a complex mix of ingredients that include, for sure, our rich natural resources, to which we can add monthly new oil and mining discoveries, exceptional renewable energy potential, and the largest reserve of arable land. But it is more than that. 2/3 of Africa's growth is pulled by internal consumption. Yes, we have a larger middle class than India, a better GDP per capita and more discretionary spending capacity than our Asian sister, which has roughly the same population. We see growth in oil-producing countries, but also on the not-so-endowed, like our host, Ethiopia. In fact, many of our growth leaders have few or no significant extractive activity. Growth is also the result of massive inflows of foreign direct investment. FDI has been growing exponentially. By 2020, it may reach the levels of China. Most of these resources, the way they are used, are becoming more diversified, with new potential pointing to services and consumption sectors. Africa is building a lot: new roads, ports, airports, railways, or even new supermarkets, hotels, airline connections. All of this is not coping with demand. Finally, regional integration, often considered the symptom of Africa's unity becoming less a reality than a panacea, is also taking off. Although not in the expected ways governments have been negotiating for decades. Everybody will tell you that only 10% of the accounted trade is intra-African. So say the official statistics. Yet, the expansion is taking shape with integrated mobile solutions roaming across countries, banking networks forcefully becoming Pan-African, or informal trade replacing the border posts' headaches. Integration is taking place over the state's head and below its belly. I could argue that Africa's growth is here to stay for one simple reason, proven historically. The demographic curve dictates part of the growth narrative. European countries or Japan will have difficulties in the future for the simple reason that their population is aging. Requiring more from the state to maintain a social protection system that is becoming unsustainable. For a while, one could live on credit. Eventually, though, it will be necessary to face reality. And that is the reason money fluidity will have to take more risks. For the time being, all Africa's ventures will represent for the external investors residual risk. All of China's investments in Africa only represent between 5 and 10% of their investments abroad. When Dubai says it wants to be a hub for Africa, it is because it can do it with the residual risk. Turkish Airlines may have increased by 20 its African destinations, but this is because it is also doing the same all over the world. So here comes the moment of truth for Africa. All this news do not address our main problem, the need for a structural transformation for the continent. Many have now embraced the need for transformation, but each player may give it a different name. For us at ECA, it is about industrializing the continent, increasing the part of industry in our combined GDP. The sad reality is that industry has retracted in the last 20 years. That means that despite our exceptional demographic vitality, and even more astounding despite our 5% average growth, we are not capable of creating the 50 million jobs we need every year. One consequence of this has been deregulated mobility with all the aggravated treatment of our African migrants. Another consequence has been the alienation of a much better educated, connected, and urbanized youth than the previous generation. This has to change. We need industrialization because it is the only way we are going to deal with the combined strength of more people, more young people indeed, more urbanized people that do not want to be poster boys of Live Aid concerts. The investors have to take notice. The inventors of mobile banking, a continent with more cell phones than Europe or the US, is ready for modern jobs. Only massive commodity-based industrialization will make the trick. Part of the industrialization drive is to treat agriculture as an economic rather than a social issue. Our decades of development aid around food security have not produced the agribusiness miracle of Latin America. This has to change. For the skeptics, industrialization has been tried before, with more failures than successes. That is true. But the current moment is very different. Our population is at the same level of education of Southeast Asian when it took off. In just a decade and a half, the continent doubled its GDP. It took the United Kingdom 150 years to do the same with the help of the Industrial Revolution. Africa has more people living in cities than India, and roughly the same as China. The industrial unit value for light manufacturing production is becoming more competitive than Asia's. One needs to be blind or incredibly deceptive to not believe in the possibilities for industrialization this time around. In order to embark on structural transformation, Africa needs to do business differently. It has to review the substance of its contracts, the way it uses reserves and liquidity, and it has to tackle illicit financial flows, mispricing of its commodities, and play hardball to impose domestic value addition. It should listen to experience. After all, this is what every developed region or country did. Many may wonder, is this new focus likely to affect gains Africa and its partners made in the fight against poverty? Not at all. Africa needs to insist the way the Millennium Development Goals were measured did not give enough attention to the effort level. Reducing poverty in Paraguay by half is not the same as in Niger. It is a statistical overstretch to do these comparisons about who meets or not universal targets. Measured by effort, out of the 20 best Millennium Development Goal performers, 15 are African. This includes gains in education, maternal health, or child mortality. It is significant. Even though Africa starts from a low end, one should reward the effort of those that have run the race without the healthy 3 meals a day, barefooted. As we address the issues of this conference, we have to be cognizant that we are dealing with a continent in convulsion. The nature of conflicts has shifted to universal patterns. Westgate in Nairobi is the same as Atocha in Madrid or the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel in Mumbai. Great Lakes instability is as much about Colton as it is about ethnic rivalries. Mali disturbing events were mostly about Libyan arms depots running havoc. If the youth does not participate in the decision-making processes, they will find a way of saving their dignity, maybe through causes we may dislike. Africa's population dynamics has to be a dividend. For that to be possible, Africa needs more planning, better strategies, more determination, as it expressed by the desire to define a vision for the next 50 years, Agenda 2063, launched by the African Union with the support of ECA and ADB. A planning that will demonstrate that Africa needs a new deal, a new social contract with the world, where its youthness will be an asset to an aging world. Ladies and gentlemen, the Tsi say that if you don't build your house well, you are afraid of living in it. Africa has the tools to do a good job to make its future prosperous, equitable, and just. It needs to integrate its populations fully. Africa can build a good house. This conference can contribute to such a noble objective. I thank you.